The New Urban Agenda is very significant for Africa, as it represents a reaffirmation of commitment to sustainable urbanization at the global level, and therefore informing dialogue and commitment to sustainable urbanization at the Africa level as well. It outlines the key interventions, strategies, and priorities that are necessary to ensure that urbanization is indeed sustainable and a driver of inclusive growth and transformation in Africa. Africa played a very active role throughout the preparatory process in terms of the negotiations, the engagements, as well as the actual drafting and formulation of the New Urban Agenda. And in fact, the region was a pioneer in developing a common African position on Habitat 3, which crystallized the priorities for the region with respect to housing and sustainable urban development. And this common African position was tabled and considered at the highest level by heads of state through the AUC, African Union Commission, in July 2016. And so Africa was indeed very active in the process, proactive, I would say, and contributed substantially to the outcome document, the New Urban Agenda of Habitat 3. And this is very visible when one looks at the key components and elements of the New Urban Agenda as it was adopted at Habitat 3 in Quito. ECA was quite instrumental in this process in order to ensure that Africa's perspectives and priorities were reflected throughout the preparatory process. ECA coordinated the Africa Regional Report for Habitat 3, which focused on an analysis and review of progress with housing and sustainable urban development over the last 20 years. And this report, regional report, constituted an important input towards the preparatory process of Habitat 3. Secondly, ECA was also quite instrumental in engagements at the regional level together with the African Union Commission, as well as other partners such as UN Habitat and representatives of local authorities and local governments. And through this process, the Common African Position on Habitat 3 was formulated as well as tabled for consideration by heads of state at the highest level. So ECA really played a key role, I would say, in supporting and facilitating Africa's engagement with the Habitat 3 process. ECA also worked very closely with other United Nations regional commissions to ensure that the regional dimension of housing and sustainable urban development was fully reflected in the New Urban Agenda, and importantly also to ensure that the implementation, monitoring, and follow-up and review of the New Urban Agenda would also have a very important regional dimension.